Life is not always kind. Sometimes it tests our patience, sometimes our faith, and sometimes our strength. Many people believe that happiness will come after problems are solved. But the truth is, life will always have challenges. If we wait for a perfect situation to be happy, we may wait forever. Happiness is not the absence of problems, it is the ability to stay peaceful despite them. Let me share a simple example. A man once complained, "My life is full of stress, work pressure, family issues, financial worries." His friend smiled and said, "You are standing in the rain and complaining about getting wet, but you are holding an umbrella and not using it." That umbrella is our mindset. Challenges are like rain. We cannot stop them, but we can choose how we respond. Gaur Gopal often reminds us that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain comes from situations beyond our control, but suffering comes from how much we resist reality. When we accept that life has ups and downs, we stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. Acceptance does not mean weakness, it means wisdom. Another powerful example is of a farmer. When it doesn't rain, he doesn't curse the sky all day. He prepares the soil, improves his seeds, and waits patiently. He focuses on what he can control. Similarly, when life doesn't go our way, instead of complaining, we should ask, what can I improve within myself? Growth always begins there. Happiness is a choice we make daily. Not because life is easy, but because our peace is too valuable to be destroyed by temporary situations. When we choose gratitude over complaints, learning over blaming, and faith over fear, life slowly starts to feel lighter, even if problems remain. Remember, storms don't last forever, but the person you become while walking through the storm, that stays with you for life. Choose happiness not because everything is right, but because you deserve peace even when life is tough. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for happiness to arrive after something changes. They believe happiness will come when problems end, when money increases, when relationships improve, or when life finally becomes fair. But life never stops testing us. One challenge ends and another begins, sometimes even before the first one is fully resolved. If happiness depends on conditions, then happiness will always remain postponed. This is why many successful people are still unhappy, and many ordinary people remain peaceful. Happiness is not a reward given by life, it is a response chosen by the individual. The moment we decide that our inner peace is more important than external perfection, we reclaim control over our emotions. True happiness begins when we stop outsourcing our joy to situations and start taking responsibility for how we feel, even in uncertainty. Think of life like a long journey filled with changing weather. If someone decides they will only enjoy the journey on sunny days, they will spend most of their time complaining. Rain, heat, dust, and storms are part of the road. Waiting for perfect conditions is unrealistic. In the same way, waiting for a perfect life before being happy is impractical. Happiness is not something that appears after suffering ends. It is the strength that helps us move through suffering with dignity. Pain is real and unavoidable, but misery is optional. When we accept that difficulties are a natural part of human life, we stop fighting reality. Acceptance does not weaken us. It frees our energy to respond wisely instead of reacting emotionally. Happiness grows when resistance ends. Consider two people facing the same problem. One becomes bitter, constantly asking, "Why me?" The other asks, "What can this teach me?" The situation is identical, but their inner experience is completely different. This shows that happiness is shaped more by perspective than by circumstance. External situations are neutral. Our interpretation gives them emotional meaning. When we understand this, we stop blaming people, fate, or destiny for our unhappiness. We realize that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always control how we respond. This realization is powerful because it shifts us from helplessness to responsibility. And responsibility, when accepted calmly, becomes the foundation of lasting happiness. Choosing happiness does not mean denying pain or pretending everything is fine. It means allowing emotions to pass without letting them dominate our identity. Sadness, anger, and fear are natural emotions, but they are meant to be felt, not lived in. Emotions are like clouds, they come and go. When we cling to them, they block our inner sunlight. Emotional maturity is not about avoiding negative feelings, but about not letting those feelings define our entire life. Happiness becomes a practice of awareness, observing emotions without becoming them. Each time we choose patience over panic and gratitude over complaint, we strengthen our emotional balance. Over time, happiness becomes less fragile and more stable. Many people argue that their circumstances are genuinely difficult and that happiness feels unrealistic. But history shows that some of the most peaceful individuals have lived through the harshest conditions. The difference lies not in what they had, but in what they expected. When expectations from life are unrealistic, disappointment becomes constant. Happiness increases when we reduce emotional dependency on outcomes. It is not about lowering standards, but about releasing entitlement. When we stop demanding that life must always go our way, we experience fewer emotional shocks. Acceptance brings calmness, and calmness brings clarity. From clarity, we act better, think better, and live better. Happiness chosen during hardship becomes a silent form of strength. Happiness is also deeply connected to meaning. When life revolves only around comfort, even small discomforts feel unbearable. But when life has purpose, discomfort becomes tolerable. People willingly endure difficulty for something meaningful, whether it is education, family, service, or growth. When actions are aligned with values, happiness becomes deeper than momentary pleasure. It stops fluctuating with daily events and starts resting on inner fulfillment. A meaningful life does not eliminate problems, but it gives problems a reason. When suffering has context, it feels less heavy. Purpose gives happiness roots, making it harder to shake during storms. In the end, happiness is not a one-time decision, but a daily commitment. Every day presents moments where we must choose between bitterness and balance, between complaint and acceptance. Life silently asks whether we will allow temporary situations to steal permanent peace. Choosing happiness is not ignoring reality. It is respecting yourself enough to protect your inner world. Challenges may remain, and some may even grow. But when happiness becomes a conscious choice, those challenges lose their power over you. True freedom is not living without problems. It is living with a calm heart even when problems exist. The T is real happiness. Many people spend a great part of their lives fighting reality. When something unexpected happens, the first reaction is denial, anger, or blame. We ask, why did this happen to me? Or this should not have happened. This inner resistance creates more pain than the situation itself. Life has its own rhythm, and not everything will unfold according to our plans. Acceptance does not mean liking what happened, it means recognizing that it has already happened. The moment we accept reality, we stop wasting emotional energy on what cannot be changed. Acceptance is the first step toward peace because it removes the inner conflict between what is and what should have been. When this conflict ends, the mind becomes calmer and clearer. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness or surrender. In truth, it is one of the strongest mental qualities a person can develop. When we accept a situation, we are not giving up, we are standing firmly in truth. Denial keeps us stuck in the past, but acceptance brings us into the present moment where change is possible. Only when we accept where we are can we decide where to go next. A person stuck in denial keeps replaying the same emotional pain, while a person who accepts reality starts healing. Acceptance is not passive, it is active awareness. It allows us to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally, and that alone reduces a large part of our suffering. Think of a person caught in quicksand. The more they struggle, the deeper they sink. But when they stop panicking and spread their weight calmly, they begin to stabilize. Life works in a similar way. Resistance increases suffering, while acceptance creates stability. When we constantly fight situations we cannot control, we exhaust ourselves mentally and emotionally. Acceptance does not remove difficulty, but it removes unnecessary struggle. It changes the question from why is this happening to me to what is the best way forward from here. That shift in thinking transforms pain into possibility. Peace begins not when problems disappear, but when resistance ends. A major source of suffering is attachment to expectations. We expect people to behave a certain way, life to reward our efforts immediately, and situations to be fair at all times. When reality fails to meet these expectations, disappointment follows. Acceptance helps us loosen our grip on rigid expectations. It teaches us that life does not always match our plans and people do not always match our hopes. This understanding does not make us cold or indifferent. It makes us emotionally intelligent. We learn to appreciate what is, instead of constantly longing for what should be. As expectations soften, suffering reduces and peace naturally grows. Acceptance also allows emotional healing to begin. When we refuse to accept loss, failure, or change, pain stays unresolved. Suppressed emotions do not disappear, they quietly accumulate. Acceptance gives us permission to feel without resistance. It allows grief to pass naturally instead of becoming bitterness. When we accept pain, we stop identifying ourselves with it. We understand that pain is an experience, not our identity. This separation is crucial for inner peace. Once emotions are allowed to flow, they gradually lose intensity. Healing does not come from avoiding pain, but from allowing it to be fully acknowledged and released. True acceptance brings clarity. When the mind stops fighting reality, it becomes sharper and more focused. From this clarity, better decisions emerge. A calm mind sees options that an agitated mind misses. Acceptance helps us distinguish between what we can change and what we must let go. Energy that was wasted on resistance can now be invested in growth and improvement. Instead of replaying negative events, we start planning constructive actions. Acceptance does not trap us in the present, it prepares us for the future. It creates a stable inner foundation from which we can rebuild and move forward with wisdom. In the long run, acceptance transforms our reality. On ship with life, we stop seeing difficulties as punishments and start seeing them as part of the human experience. This shift does not remove pain completely, but it removes bitterness. Peace does not mean life becomes easy, it means the heart becomes steady. When acceptance becomes a habit, suffering loses its grip. We learn to flow with life instead of constantly pushing against it. And in that flow, we discover a quiet strength, a peace that remains even when circumstances are imperfect. That peace is the true reward of acceptance. Most of our stress comes from focusing on things we cannot control. We worry about other people's opinions, unexpected events, or outcomes that depend on circumstances beyond our reach. This is like trying to steer the wind or control the waves. It is impossible and exhausting. Gaur Gopal Das often emphasizes that energy spent on uncontrollable factors is wasted energy. When we shift our focus inward toward what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, we regain clarity and power. The simple act of identifying what is within our control and what is not is revolutionary. It frees the mind from chaos and allows us to act with intention rather than react with anxiety, transforming challenges into manageable steps. Life constantly reminds us that control over everything is an illusion. A sudden loss, a disagreement, or unexpected change can shake even the strongest people. The question is not how to stop life from happening, but how to respond to it effectively. When we focus on what we can control, we stop blaming external circumstances and start improving ourselves. For example, we cannot control someone else's behavior, but we can control our attitude toward it. We cannot prevent failure entirely, but we can control our preparation, learning, and resilience. This shift in perspective gives us freedom. Instead of feeling powerless, we feel empowered because our energy is invested where it can create meaningful results. A simple story illustrates this truth. Two students fail an exam. One blames the teacher, the system, and luck. The other analyzes mistakes, studies smarter, and seeks guidance. The situation, the failed exam, is the same for both, but the outcomes diverge because of focus. The first remains stuck in regret, bitterness, and helplessness, while the second grows stronger, more capable and confident. Focusing on controllable actions transforms obstacles into opportunities. Gaur Gopal teaches that life's challenges are neutral, but our responses determine whether they become setbacks or lessons. Energy directed at self-improvement and proactive action always yields growth. It is also important to recognize that focusing on control reduces mental clutter. When the mind constantly jumps between uncontrollable worries, we become anxious, indecisive, and exhausted. Narrowing focus to actionable steps creates clarity. We begin to see solutions instead of problems. For instance, a professional facing corporate changes cannot control management decisions, but can control skill development, attitude, and networking. By concentrating on what is actionable, we regain agency, boost confidence, and decrease stress. Gaur Gopal reminds us that peace arises when energy is invested in what matters and not wasted on what does not. Focusing on what we can control is not passive resignation, it is active participation in life. It encourages planning, discipline, and consistency. Small, deliberate actions compound over time into remarkable results. The farmer cannot control rain, but he can prepare soil, choose seeds, and nurture crops. Similarly, we may not control outcomes, but consistent effort in what we can influence guarantees progress. Gaur Gopal often compares life to a river. We cannot stop its current, but we can learn to navigate it skillfully, avoiding unnecessary collisions and directing energy toward forward movement rather than futile resistance. Another aspect is emotional control. While we may not choose what happens, we can always choose our reaction. Anger, resentment, or panic rarely improve situations, but calmness, reflection, and patience always do. This is the essence of focusing on controllables, mental and emotional mastery. By maintaining composure, we make better decisions, preserve relationships, and keep our long-term goals intact. Gaur Gopal emphasizes that true freedom comes from this inner control. Life will test us constantly, but a person who masters their responses is never truly at the mercy of circumstances. Ultimately, focusing on what we can control transforms life from a series of stressful events into a journey of empowered action. Challenges no longer feel overwhelming because attention is on actionable steps, learning, and personal growth. We stop being victims of circumstance and start being architects of our inner and outer life. By directing energy where it has impact, we build resilience, confidence, and peace. Gaur Gopal reminds us that happiness and success are rarely products of luck. They are the outcomes of disciplined focus on what we can control while letting go of what we cannot. This conscious focus is the key to both peace and progress. Life is designed to teach, not to spare us. Challenges are not punishments, they are opportunities in disguise. Every difficulty we face carries a hidden lesson meant to shape our character, strengthen our resilience, and deepen our understanding of ourselves. Gaur Gopal often says that a smooth life may feel comfortable, but it rarely produces growth. Just as a seed must break through soil to become a tree, we must face pressure and adversity to realize our potential. Without challenges, we remain stagnant, unaware of the strength and courage that reside within us. Growth, like happiness, is a choice. It begins when we decide to see obstacles not as barriers but as stepping stones. When life tests us, our immediate reaction is often fear, frustration, or despair. Yet it is precisely in these moments that the mind learns its greatest lessons. Consider a student struggling with a difficult subject. The first attempts may fail, but each failure teaches focus, patience, and problem solving. Similarly, challenges in relationships, work, or health teach empathy, adaptability, and perseverance. Gaur Gopal emphasizes that pain and struggle are not indicators of personal weakness. They are tools of transformation. How we respond to them determines whether they crush us or refine us. When we embrace challenges consciously, we convert setbacks into growth experiences that last a lifetime. A practical example comes from the world of sports. A runner does not become stronger by running easy laps. They improve by pushing past exhaustion, facing resistance, and sometimes falling. Growth emerges only when effort exceeds comfort, Life operates the same way. Comfort zones may feel safe, but they stunt development. Gaur Gopal Das often reminds us that personal evolution requires discomfort. Challenges force us to stretch, adapt, and uncover skills we never knew we had. The more willingly we embrace difficulties, the faster we grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Avoiding challenges only delays the awakening of our true potential. Challenges also teach humility. When things go wrong, we realize that we are not omnipotent and that control is limited. This awareness is freeing rather than limiting because it encourages reflection rather than blame. Gaur Gopal Das explains that humility does not make us weak, it strengthens our character. By acknowledging our limitations, we can approach problems more strategically, ask for help when needed, and cultivate patience with ourselves and others. Growth is not only about skill or achievement, it is about the evolution of our character. Adversity becomes a mirror, reflecting the areas in which we need maturity, patience, and wisdom. Another key lesson of challenges is resilience. Life often throws unexpected storms, whether in the form of failures, losses, or disappointments. Resilience is the ability to recover without losing hope or direction. Each difficulty navigated strengthens this inner muscle. Gaur Gopal Das often illustrates this with stories of ordinary people who endured hardships yet continued with optimism, learning, and kindness. Resilience is not developed during easy times, it is forged in struggle. Every time we confront a challenge and refuse to be defeated, we add a layer of strength to our character that prepares us for even greater obstacles in the future. Growth through challenges also teaches gratitude. When life is too easy, we may take blessings for granted. Difficulties make us more aware of the value of what we have, encouraging appreciation for small victories, support from loved ones, and the lessons hidden within adversity. Gaur Gopal Das emphasizes that gratitude and growth are intertwined. Recognizing the gift within every challenge allows us to face obstacles with positivity rather than bitterness. By seeing hardship as an essential part of learning, we cultivate a mindset that transforms fear into opportunity, complaint into action, and struggle into insight. Ultimately, challenges shape our identity. They reveal strengths, test patience, and illuminate weaknesses we need to address. A life without obstacles may feel easy, but it deprives us of the wisdom, resilience, and courage that challenges provide. Gaur Gopal Das teaches that the most meaningful growth happens when we embrace life fully, including its trials. Challenges are not detours from happiness or success, they are the very path toward them. By choosing to see difficulties as teachers rather than enemies, we evolve into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. Growth through challenges is not optional. It is the essence of a fulfilled life,